stand for a flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In conformance with the Open Public Meeting Law, Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, adequate notice of this meeting setting forth the time, date, place, and purpose of this regular meeting through notice posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, mailed will have requested and paid for same, and published in Suburban Trends. Roll call, please.
Mayor Serra.
Here.
Councilman Wright.
Here.
Councilman Bay.
Here.
Councilman Dewan.
Councilman Dewan is excused, yes.
Councilman Giaconetti.
Here.
Councilwoman Polidori.
Is excused, yes.
Councilman Bennett.
Here.
With us this evening is our Borough Attorney Joseph Ratno and our Borough Administrator Kevin Boyle.
Okay, I'm going to do a update after our shade tree. I'm going to let our shade tree do their dedications first. And then anybody else who'd like to stay from the shade tree is more than welcome. Everybody else, if you'd like, you can leave. So with that, I bring up our shade tree commission.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Ann Tassinelli, chairperson of the Pompton Lake Shade Tree Commission. We're here tonight to commemorate Arbor Day. This is the PLSTC's 5th annual Arbor Day contest. The 5th graders have been asked to write an essay on why trees are important to them by using an example of a past memory and how this memory fits into the importance of protecting the trees for future generations. The commission then reads each one of these essays and chooses a winner from each of the 3 5th grade classes. Believe me when I tell you, it's not an easy task by no means, as they are all awesome in their own way. These winners will receive the opportunity to read their essay tonight and will then receive a special gift from the Shade Tree Commission and a certificate from both Shade Tree Commission and the Town Council. Their class will also receive an award for their participation. So now, with that said, I'd have some people to give some thanks to before we move on to the readings. I promise I won't take too long. I'd like to thank my co-chair, of course, Randy Hinton, who spends countless hours throughout the town surveying trees and determining their safety or their need for pruning or removal. He works tirelessly with our borough administrator and the tree companies, the police department, and the clerk's office. He has become the shade tree steward. Also, Randy, thank you for putting up our 11th year Tree City signs at the entrances into town. Randy works tirelessly with Pete Autieri, our county liaison and treasurer, also our steward of trees, and of course, commissioner, who travels through the town with Randy and also surveys trees while he runs his marathons through town daily. Madeline Denty, an absolute asset to our commission, is in charge of organizing planting throughout the town for our spring and fall plantings. She has also organized for 5 years now this Arbor Day event, and does so with great pleasure and expertise. She keeps our Facebook page alive with the information, pictures, and posts. Danielle Denti, our Secretary Commissioner, has made us feel very excited with all of her new ideas and computer expertise. We enjoy working with her. Frank Giaconetta, our liaison, we'd like to thank you for always reporting our concerns and accomplishments to the Town Council and cheering us on. Also, thank you for being a regular attendee at our meetings. Tim Duffy, our DPW manager, he helps us out in any way he can, and when we ask for him, he's always there. Yes, this is the 11th year that we received an award, a commemorative flag, and a trophy for following all of the criteria necessary to be approved each year for Tree City USA designation. Also this year, our commission has worked with our borough administrator and John Winston, our certified arborist. Together with Randy, they've been working tirelessly to plan one of our largest plantings in the history of PLSTC's existence. We are planting approximately 150 trees in the borough rights-of-way, parks, and open spaces in town. We were able to receive this award because through the years we've completed the many criteria necessary to keep our Tree City USA standing. This planting must be done strategically, and we must follow rigorous guidelines while doing so going forward, as there will be inspections and checklists required for and performed by the state. Again, I'd like to thank John Linson for his expert advice and assistance in applying for this grant, and for always being there for us when we need him. And Kevin Boyle for his support and hard work, getting all of the paperwork into the hands of the New Jersey Forestry Division for review and approval. Okay, that ends my long-winded speech. I apologize for that, but thank you for joining us. Now let us move on to the 5th grade essays. Madeline, you told me to go ahead. You want me to hand them out? Okay. So we have Jaden Watson. And then stand here and you can go ahead and read it. Oh, now you turn it on.
She's nice and pretty. Yeah, let's have first. Take your time.
Okay. The title of my essay is called My Good Old Pals, the Trees. Trees are a very important part of my chessboard. The trees that surround me are a very important part of my life. They're always there for me when I'm upset or I just need a hug. Trees are very, very important to me, and I will never forget a special memory I have with my enormous leafy friends. It was a sunny day in July, and I was at Camp Camus, my summer day camp. My group and a few others went on a morning hike to Lake Arcadia. Lake Arcadia is a very special lake deep in the woods. It was a very humid day, and while we were hiking, everyone was burning up. Luckily, my giant friends provided everyone with cooling shade, and no one overheated. When we arrived at Lake Arcadia, the view was absolutely breathtaking. The tree's reflection bounced off the surface of the glistening blue water. I sat at the edge of the water enjoying the picturesque view. The gigantic tree stood high and mighty as the golden sun reflected off of the prairie green leaves. It was truly a magnificent view. I will never forget that gorgeous sight. In my eyes, trees are loyal friends who will never leave my side. It is extremely important to conserve these natural wonders. We must protect and love trees the same way they love and protect us.
We have a certificate for you from the town also. Okay, so congratulations. Good job.
Liz needs a picture.
Arbor Burla-Jolie.
The title of my essay is We Need Trees. We all need trees because without them, we wouldn't have fresh air. There are a lot of people on Earth that are chopping trees down for its wood. If people keep chopping trees down, we wouldn't be able to survive. Trees are very important for animals and humans. If people chop trees down, we wouldn't have animals and the whole food chain would be ruined. I had a favorite tree in my backyard. Every time I went outside, I got that nice, breezy, fresh air. I love that tree. I never wanted anything to happen to it. But then one day, my dad had to chop it down. I wish I could just tell everybody to just stop chopping trees down. An article called Benefits of Trees states, trees remove pollutants from the atmosphere, improving air quality. I don't get why people want to chop them down. This is a good thing for the earth. In the same article, it also states they provide vital habitat and important species range for a wide variety of animals, some endangered. That is amazing for animals and the earth. Why are people chopping trees down? I conclude by saying, take care of trees. If you have seeds, you should plant them and let trees grow so the earth can have some more air. Every tree planted makes a difference so that the air could be fresh and the animals can have a home. Just take care of trees because they are very important.
And Gloria J. Kang.
Arbor Day essay. Trees are more vital than you think. Trees provide you with clean air, homes for animals, a place to relax, gives you shade, and oxygen for you to breathe. Trees are have a very important niche to the environment. This is why we celebrate Arbor Day on the last Friday of April. It's the day you go outside and celebrate and appreciate all the trees for what it gives you. Over 20 species of British trees and shrubs are known to have medicinal properties. Many medicines come from trees that help you. Trees are renewable resources, so they continue to make other trees of their kind. Trees give us so many precious things. Trees give a home to animals like raccoons, birds, squirrels, and a lot more. Even rotted wood makes a home to many species of bugs, and moss-like things. Trees give us fruit like apples, oranges, peaches, even avocado, and even chocolate. When I was little, my family and I went apple picking, and I loved to climb the tall trees to pick all the apples at the top. People say that money does not come from trees, but if you really think about it, it does. Money is made from paper, and trees make paper. Even your house structure is made out of trees. We all wouldn't be here without all the trees in the earth. Mostly everything is made from trees. If you're outdoors or if you're indoors, we give our thanks to all the trees. Trees, thank you.
Come up for a second. Come on up. We'll take a picture. And we'll take our picture. Now, why the shade tree come up?
Yeah.
There's a lot of tall people in the shade Someone's phone's up here. Is that someone? No, find out.
One more, guys. Come on, guys. Okay. Now we take one with the shade tree. Okay, you guys can have that. Just such a long? We need that for... Okay. Thank you.
So first off, I'd like to thank the winners. It's not easy to get up and speak in public, and I think you all did a great job. I'd like to thank both principals for coming. That's very nice. Thank you for coming. I'd like to thank the Shade Tree for putting on this, and for all the hard work you do with the trees, and the new plantings will look great in town. So I thank you for all for that. we're going to start our regular meeting. I'll give everybody about 30 seconds who doesn't want to stay, and you're able to get out. Okay, yeah. 30 seconds. Start walking your way towards the door, though. Okay, I'm going to start with my update. As most of you are aware, we will not be voting on the second reading on the DuPont property. And what I had stated at the last meeting was we would be doing it in the next 2 months. And the reason we will not be doing it today is I want to give the opportunity to all my council to be here to make the decision. It's an important decision, so I wanted everybody here, and that's the reason we're postponing it, because I have 2 people excused today for other reasons. So that's the reason we've postponed it to the 8th. It will be on the 8th. It will be posted on our Facebook page and our town website, and as we mentioned last meeting, those things will happen. Also want to follow up, anybody in the plume should have gotten, or will be getting, a 10-page newsletter from the EPA and the DEP, which they promised a year ago, which is finally out. I do have a copy of it. I don't know if anybody, just by raising hands, did anybody get it in email form? Okay, so they did send it out in email form. I understand they will be mailing out about 400 of them to homes also. It's informative, it's got some good information, it's got a question and answer in the back, so I urge everybody to take a look at that. And finally, myself and Council President Riker went down to Trenton 2 weeks ago, and we met with the Commissioner McCabe from the DEP and the AG. We had an hour-long meeting with them. It was a very good meeting. We talked about a lot of things with the AG on how the meeting took place, why it took place in our town when there was 5 other towns involved, why there was the whole setup of how things happened. We were also there with our local representatives, Senator Corrado, Assemblyman DePhillips, and Assemblyman Rooney, and they were questioning why they weren't invited to the meeting. The one thing we took out of it was there's shareholders involved of who gets contacted about these meetings. Somehow, our Assemblyman and our Senator and us on the council are not shareholders, which is a problem and a mistake, and they will be addressing that. What's that? Stakeholders. I'm sorry, stakeholders. I'm sorry, you're right, stakeholders. And then with Commissioner McCabe, there's 2 separate things here. There's the lawsuit, and then there's the cleanup. We spoke about the lawsuit with the Attorney General, and again, I'm going to remind everybody, we agree with what we're suing for. We passed a resolution 2 years ago saying we want that money to stay here in town, and we've listed 5 or 6 things that we'd like to see it spent on. So the lawsuit, there's no objection here. We all agree with that. Then we talked about the cleanup a little bit, and she told us that the cleanup is going well. She thinks things are going good here. It's on track. Could it be a little faster? Probably. She has no real concerns about how things are going here. I invited her back to town here. She will be coming to town. I will be setting up a meeting with some residents, some people in this room, some people up here, and I don't have a date or time of when that's going to happen. They're going to be getting back to me on that, but she is willing to come back to our town and discuss what's going on at Camorra's. I don't know if you want to add anything, Councilman Rick?
The only thing I would add, you did a very good synopsis of the meeting. There was one other person in attendance who should be acknowledged. Besides the Commissioner herself and the Attorney General himself, we also had a representative from the Governor's office. And he was the community relations staff person. He was in charge of dealing with mayors and governing bodies, and he was there at the meeting speaking on behalf of the governor. Other than that, I think you covered everything.
Okay, good. Okay, so I'm going to open the meeting for public comments. Can I have a motion? So moved. Councilman DeWine, Councilman Giaconetti, all in favor? Aye. Councilman DeFedden, Councilman Giaconetti, all in favor? Aye. That's the green shirt, that's what's over there. Against? All right, so I want to remind everybody from the public, really, we're trying to keep it to 5 minutes. Please don't go over 5 minutes. I don't want to have to remind people of that. Please give your name, your address, and there will be some light dialogue back and forth, but this is not a full-out discussion. You're allowed to speak once. We do have a second time if you'd like to come up and speak. So with that, anybody who wants to step up to the public, please raise your hand. Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public... Oh, well, we're waiting to be the last one? Is that what we're doing? Go ahead, step up. You can close that door. Close it down. You just can't lock it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just want to do a little walk back.
I need name and address.
I thought I said it.
Oh, I didn't hear it. I'm sorry.
Ed Meekin, Howard Street. I'm definitely affected by the zone change. And a couple of things I want to point out is we already have a steel company over there with a setback of almost 300 feet from my house. There's trucks out there at 4 o'clock in the morning lining up to get in. They don't open until 7. They're idling. I've called the police before.
But we should handle it.
So when you do something like this, you got to realize the effect it's going to have on the residents there. And just one trucking company has major effects on my quality of life. I'm up at 2 o'clock in the morning. They're out there idling all night. I've had the police send them back down the highway. You know, they come in at 11 o'clock in the winter. They're out there all night long idling. I mean, it's not good. So when you have a permitted use like that, okay, I don't believe we can regulate the times that they operate because it's a permitted use. So we have to be very careful about hours of operations on types of businesses like that. So that was one thing that really affects me deeply. But I want to walk back to the master plan that you guys are not talking about tonight, but the master plan I found posted December 20th, 2016 on an agenda. Today is 4/24/2019, and you're talking about a re-examination of a master plan of 2017. That's not even done. So just for the record...
So it's a process. That's when they started.
It's supposed to be done in 17.
No, it's not.
Well, okay. So let's not even go there. It's listed on the agenda for the planning board in 2016. I go to 2016, the meeting, the minutes mentions nothing about the master plan. It says new and unfinished business, master plan.
Is this the planning board meeting you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
2017, in January, at the reorganization meeting, new business, master plan. The meeting opened up at 8 o'clock, it was adjourned at 8:17. So there wasn't much discussion there, I believe.
Well, it's done in subcommittee.
I don't want to lose my time. I'm just trying to make a point. Regular meeting minutes of 2017, new and unfinished business, master plan. February 21st, 2017, on the agenda, master plan, public discussion, new and unfinished business, master plan. 3 people talked, and all they talked about was the downtown, the RDA. They didn't talk about the master plan, although that may be a component of it. The changes that you're making today. So then we go to planning board agenda, March 21st, 2017. New and unfinished business, master plan. Recommendation in regards to Mazer Consulting. That's all it says. New and unfinished business on the 21st in the minutes, master plan. Mr. Silverstein states that the meeting is scheduled for May. Okay, that's March. So they adjourn at 8:49. April 18th, 2017, new and unfinished business, RDA sign ordinance, meeting canceled. No mention of master plan. May 16th, 2017, there's new and unfinished business, RDA,
You got about another minute. So
no master plan. Okay, so we'll go to, all the way up to 2018, this happens. There's 2 meetings canceled during 2017. No mention of the master plan under new or used business or unfinished business. Then we get to 2018 of October, And I've heard you say before you had no correspondence with DuPont, and that you don't talk to DuPont, but you are actually referenced in the meeting minutes saying DuPont wants to know what's going on with the master plan.
That's correct.
So,
And what was the date of that?
February, I believe it's February 19th, if you give me a little time to find it so that you don't cut me off. Or October, I believe it was. I have it somewhere in here. But I want to go back to what my real point is. When a planning board is going to take action on a master plan under 4055D-13, the notice of the master plan, public notice of the hearing shall be given by publication in official newspaper. Was that meeting that you discussed it published in the newspaper? Because the action you took was on December 18th, where you actually talked about the master plan, and in the middle of the meeting, you opened it up and said, the rest of this meeting, we're going to discuss, Andy Silverstein opened up the meeting and said, the rest of this meeting, we're going to discuss the master plan, and this is the hearing on it. I'd like to know if it was published in a newspaper, because I don't believe you send the agenda to the Trends, but it's not published all the time.
All right, I'm gonna have to cut you off now.
I want to know, because if you didn't publish that, part of 4055D-13 says notice concerning master plan, says public notice of a hearing on adoption, revision, or amendment of a master plan. Such notice shall be given by publication.
Okay, I'm gonna have to cut you off, but let me answer you.
All right, you can cut me off.
I'm sorry, but I have to. Go back to your first initial problem you brought up is the idling. Are you trying to tell me that you called the police and they did nothing? Is that what you're making the statement as?
Never said that.
So what are you saying?
I'm saying that I have to numerously call the police to chase the trucks away or have them shut the trucks off.
Well, that's what they have to
And
do.
we have no control over it.
Okay, so that's the first. I just wanted to make sure that they were doing their job.
They come and they respond. I never said they did. I appreciate it.
All right, now to discuss your second reason. It's the committee it's a subcommittee that started almost a year and a half ago to go over the master plan. It involves the planner, it involves the engineer. They all sit on this subcommittee. I do not sit on this subcommittee. It took them a long time to put it all together. It takes months to put that together. At the same time, the chairperson of the planning board had to step down. So in the middle of that, he stepped down, which brought in a new chairperson who had to be caught up to speed on everything that was doing. So there was much more delay with that. The meeting you're talking about is my question, just what you're asking, which was basically asking the planning board, where are we with the master plan? It's been a long time. I haven't heard anything. That's all that I said at that meeting.
You said DuPont is asking.
I said I asked for DuPont. DuPont is asking, where is the master
But
plan?
you
Right.
said in numerous meetings that you don't have any conversation.
I've never said I don't have any comment. That's never. About certain things, about what you were talking about. I have conversations with DuPont all the time about many things. Okay, but about the cleanup, I have no discussion with them over. Okay, so the reason it's been delayed, this should have been addressed a year ago, but because of the changeover with the chairperson at the planning board, it got postponed. The new chairperson has just gotten caught up to speed, and that's where they are with this. So that's why there's been a delay, and that's why that discussion has been. Anybody else from the public like yours? Please step up.
Lisa Radiola, 283 Ryerson Road. Mayor, I'm glad to hear that you met with the AG and the DEP commissioner, and that she will be coming again to Pompton Lakes. You mentioned there'll be a meeting with residents that will be invited. Will some of that include the active environmental residents from the pool?
I am going to try to, yes.
Because
it's
that
not my
didn't-
meeting, though, so it's her meeting.
Right, but that didn't happen. I know you met with her separately, and we had another meeting, but if it's going to be combined, there's certain people that have been working
fine.
really
And I'm
hard
okay with
that
that.
should be included.
I'm hoping to get, I can't overwhelm her, so I'm hoping to do like 20 and 20, something like that.
Okay, great. I want to address the master, a couple issues that I think I need to make you aware of. And they're deficiencies, and some of them are some cynical issues with the master plan reconsideration involving the DuPont tract zoning. The master plan fails to consider the impact of the zoning change recommended on the DuPont tract on the NJDEP cleanup regulations. the rezoning recommendations does not have factual basis. There are mere assertions about changes in the economy, but there are no facts. The rezoning changes do not include necessary related planning considerations such as infrastructure and circulation, etc. Cynically, the plan recommends, and this is in quotes, promote the concept of Pompton Lakes as a gateway to the Highlands Greenway, beginning with the Ramapo Mountain State Park and Wanacue Valley Ridgelines. But Pompton Lakes rejected the plan conformance with the Highlands request for proposal. Although there was grant money, they did get some grant money to consider doing so. The ultimate cynical, concern about the DuPont tract, and this is how I see it, is, again, the zone should include options for a unique blend, and this is in quotes, this is in the master plan, a unique blend of uses to inspire and attract local artists, businesses, incubation of research and development, alternative energy providers, and other sustainability-related entities. Arts, alternative energy, and sustainability. With that, what studies, if any, have been completed to support the DuPont tract rezoning to hybrid industrial? What has been done? What environmental studies?
There has been no environmental studies. We're not to the level of building anything. This is a recommendation for future use.
Right, but you are going to...
Please let me finish. Please let me finish.
No, I'm talking. This is my
Well,
time.
you wanted me to answer? Okay, you didn't want me to
Okay,
answer.
just wait till I'm finished. Please.
Okay.
You keep separating the two, and they're very much intertwined. When you change the zoning from residential, or if it was environmentally sensitive zoning, and you're going to turn it back into industrial, what you're doing is you're aiding DuPont, in a way, not to clean it up right. You're opening that door, and that's why this is so crucial that you leave the master plan. You said EPA wants the plan. Well, first of all, they shouldn't have anything to do with your land use decision,
They don't.
and you do not have to rezone it to commercial, to industrial. You can leave it just the way it is. So, there's problems with the master plan, you guys should really look into it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so just to follow up what you brought up, this was done by committee, subcommittee. Like I said, it took a year with involving a planner and an engineer. This was not a spur-of-the-moment decision. They researched everything. There were no environmental studies done. Of course there weren't. But when something is going to go in there, they would have to do environmental studies. At the end of the day, we had to do what's best for the town, which is the best future use of that property. That's why it has to be zoned. It has to be zoned for the future use. The property is dirty. We all know that. It has to be cleaned up. That's a combination of capping and taking out dirt. No matter how you look at it, residential or commercial hybrid, whatever you want to call it, it's going to be a combination of all those things. Okay? At the end of the day, we have to do what's best for the town, which is the future use of that property. Anyone else? You step up. No, you go next. You can go next. Sure. Okay.
Helene Zablocki, 6 Butler Street. I'm disappointed that Mr. DeLine is not here tonight, because it was actually his comments at the end of the April 10th meeting that I wanted to address. But what he spoke about was something that reflects the behavior of the entire council. And he said he was concerned about people's perceptions. And he went on to say that there's a lot of discussion on various items that gets done before things make it to an agenda. He said that things that don't look like they're good for the borough get stopped in the process. That there were times that there were spirited conversations among all of you, and they sometimes died on the vine. That was the expression he used. And he was attempting to explain that there was an interim process before the agenda was settled. And I appreciate the fact that he is trying to educate people on how local government works. I think anything that helps us understand the process here is important. But I take exception with the substance of what he said. I believe those comments reflect a possible violation of the Open Public Meetings Act. At one point in the Sunshine Law, it says, "It's not necessary that a meeting result in some action. Mere discussion of public matters is enough to make it a public meeting." I don't think it's your job to decide what will be okay with us. I think if it's an issue that's of concern to any council member, enough that you would have spirited discussions about it, those discussions should come here first. There is a perception that things are rubber-stamped, because that's the way the agenda is set up right now. Unless something is pulled from the agenda, you go through that section, which I think is the most important part of the meeting, in a relatively small percentage of time compared to the total time of a meeting. And lastly, he said that, that some people like to see disagreements. I think that's a generalization. Most people I know don't like confrontation. They don't like disagreements. But that's neither here nor there. Regardless, that should not be the determining factor of what this council talks about in public view.
Okay, thank you. First off, I can't answer for Councilman DeLine, so he'll have to answer for himself. But I will tell you that I can at any time have a conversation with Councilman Begg one-on-one and discuss a concern that we're having in town, not breaking any sunshine laws. It's when you get 3 or more people together when the sunshine law is a problem. I don't know what Councilman DeLine was discussing, and I don't know what he was talking about. But there is discussion independently, one-on-one with people about things and how we're doing things. Obviously, if we were to make all our decisions and all our talk up here, our meetings would go to 4 o'clock in the morning. So there has to be some time where we're trying to figure out and do the best thing for whatever the concern is at the time. Councilman DeLine will be back, so when he's back, you should ask him that question again. Anyone else from the public? Christopher. Uh-oh, he's got a bag.
I got a bag, don't worry. There's only a pyramid in it, okay? My name is Gregory Wayne Cockapher. I live at 26 Albert Street, which is like a pyramid, Pompton Lakes, New Jersey. In here, what I want to build there, and I have a reason. Grandma called me slanted rock, okay? This is a pyramid. It's not yours. I'm going to put it on the floor for a foundation so that everybody in the council can see. This you can't have either, but you can pass it around, okay? This is a pyramid, which I got at Pompton Day 3 years ago, okay? Right there on Lakeside Ave, which now I think is closed because of construction. You pass it around, you can't have it. Neither can you have that. What I'm saying is, the slanted rock is Ramapo Mountains, okay? You need extra office space. For the high school even, I would guarantee that students, 100 years from now, would be able to go to class there without building a new addition to the high school. Why build a new addition to the high school when you got the whole town to be an education facility? Why do it? Okay? The reason being is that you have to consider the future. And the future really is the children of this town. I would not touch their future at all, except to clean up DuPonts. Okay? You have to do it for their future, because kids tend to be judgmental once in a while. And I don't want this council to be judged 100 years from now that they did the wrong thing. I don't want that, because I'm part of your generation, but I'm not. I have dyslexia. I have many of the common elements that millennials have. I love these people. They're new people. You have millennials. Are you a millennial?
I'm not.
No, you're out of that one. But I'm sure there are people here. I know. You have to be concerned for their future, because their future is your future, Mayor and Council. Their future is my future. Their future is a clean world. The Bible says, and I have a verse in here, but I'll give it to you later, they shall turn, weapons of war into weapons of, implements of peace. It's in Isaiah, which is an Old Testament book, by the way, for the Jewish people in this place. They will turn. Well, why don't we do it in Pompton Lakes? Start with hydroponic garden, which the kids can learn at even a young age, television, an athletic facility with pools that are not chlorinated, but freshwater pools. The technology is around. By the way, Ramapo also means fresh, sweet, round pools. So why not go with the flow, and go with the flow, and allow this generation to be blessed in town? Because you also got to have to deal with Lakeland Regional High School too, because part of the land that DuPont owns is also in Haskell. I know that. I look at a map every day, and I pray, dear Lord, let the mayor make the right decision, not for today, but for maybe even thousands of years. Okay? That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You have a chairman over there? Anyone else from the public like to speak? Yeah, okay, go ahead, fine.
Good evening. George Paul, 1104 Colfax Avenue. Following up on our April 10th exchange, I'm glad to hear that you and Ms. Riker met with the EPA. Did you ask them for the contamination levels that they left behind?
I did, actually.
You did? And did you get a commitment as to when you'll get the numbers?
They said they gave out the numbers, that's what they told me.
Gave it out to whom?
The DEP. The DEP has the numbers, according to the
Okay.
commissioner.
When will you get the numbers?
I did not ask them, I just asked for you, did they have them? And she said yes.
How does anyone in the public secure them?
I guess you'd have to call the DEP and ask them. Now, so I don't want to take your time, but I'll give an extra minute, but I also should have mentioned in the beginning, I think the DEP will start coming here once a month also, so that's something you should bring up with them. When you
Okay. Will the DEP or the EPA start looking north of Lakeside Avenue as far as the contamination levels in the lake?
I did ask that also. And they told me there's no reason to, DuPont's property does not go up that far.
And they, doesn't go up that far? Have you looked at what where the plume and all of the contaminants flow into? That's way north of the Lakeside Avenue.
I'm just telling you what they told me. That's what they told me.
I understand what they told you. I'm not quibbling what they told you. I said, are you aware of that?
Yes, but I did look at a map, and when you get closer to Oakland, that's Oakland, and it's not DuPont.
I'm not saying going all the way to Oakland, but you've got a good quarter mile up north of the lake, which is part of the plume. Are you saying contaminants aren't coming through the plume?
They're telling me, and again, I did ask this question, Council President was there, that they said everything hits the water and flows down, it doesn't flow up.
And it doesn't go into the sediment? It doesn't remain?
That's what they're saying, it did not. And it was tested, they did say it was tested also.
Are they willing to commit that in writing and tell the rest of the people of this town that there are no contaminants remaining?
Well, that's exactly...
I don't think that's what they're trying to say.
What are they saying, sir?
The levels of contaminants that they say is safe is still within there. Anything above those numbers has been pulled out.
So just to comment further,
Please.
the frustration that you're expressing, we attempted to share with the folks at the table the fact that there are questions, there are comments, there is frustration, there's fear, there's all sorts of emotions that are expressed to us on a regular basis, a full gamut. And that's one of the reasons in terms of holding their feet to the fire to get a DEP representative here, so that they're not hearing it from us and then able to just push it off. So we did get that commitment. Now, they did not commit to the once a week that the EPA has committed. But we did get a commitment that they would send somebody here. They're shooting for once a month. The mayor is in regular contact with the aide to the commissioner. He's in the process of establishing the meeting that we were promised, and at the time when they get back to us, we'll remind them that they promised us a once a month sit down, so that they can get a sense of what the people in the room are expressing in terms of what they're missing, what they would like from these people work for you, they work for us. This is our state agency.
Okay.
So this way, they have a chance to hear it directly from you folks, not just from us, but from you folks when they come, and you can express what you're looking for, what you feel, where you feel they have failed you, and perhaps get the dialogue going, and if they have the numbers, let them share it with you.
And you as our representatives were unable to do that?
I'm saying exactly the opposite. I said, we as your representatives expressed this at the
You
table.
requested it, but what you requested in the meeting, we're not lonely, you don't...
And at the table, what we were promised, and we were not promised it easily, is a representative to finally come to this.
All right, so let me jump in here. So just to follow, and I understand what you're saying, but sometimes you've spent a lot of time discussing this concern. I think, and I understand when you go to these large meetings, it sometimes gets lost in these large meetings when you're trying to get your point across. Wouldn't it be something better for you to actually sit down one-on-one and get your point across with no time limit and do what you have to do? And then I can get my answers the same way you're getting at the answers. And let me just tell you, when I asked about bringing a representative up here, they told me we can't, there's been budget cuts in the DEP, and we can't afford to bring someone up here. And after speaking with the commissioner said, I'm making it a priority to change that statement and have someone there. Not anywhere else, just in Pompton Lakes. So we should take advantage of that, is all I'm saying.
Fine, and I hear you.
It was a hard-fought concession, is what he's trying to express.
But the action item really is to start the testing. Because so far, nobody has done the testing. Getting on to Chamorro's property, DuPont's property, has the DEP or the EPA offered, or have you requested, for them to provide the difference in the level of contamination that would go on under a residential designation for the property or a commercial designation for the
Yes,
property?
and that is one of the questions they answered.
They didn't answer. That is so many weasel words in there.
Well,
So
I
much
can only go by,
BS.
this is their answer for that.
I know that's their answer.
Right.
So I
That's
thought that you could read through
You
that.
did not ask me to answer that. I can follow up on that. I will ask them the next time I see
The
them.
bottom line, before you make your decision on this change, or I'm baffled as to how you can make the decision without understanding the level of contamination that is going to engage the residents of this town, not the future use. 200, 300 years, I commend him on his presentation, but the people are suffering now. And you can make a decision not knowing the level of contamination will continue to flow down, both gradient flow and...
So if the commissioner was to come here, and I will have you as being one of the
I
guests...
don't want meetings, I want action.
Let me finish the question. If the commissioner was to come here and say, the levels are not above the standard which they are, things are good on the plant, on the site, you're not going to believe
Things are good
that.
meaning nothing to me, it means nothing to the people who
Numbers,
are
if she
suffering.
says our numbers from our
Right, I see
people...
nothing quantitative. I've been here for 10 years, and I see nothing quantitative, and I don't see the council asking for quantitative
All right,
measures.
well, we can ask that.
Will you ask?
I will.
Okay. Guess I'll be back in 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I'm going to get it 2 weeks, we'll see, but okay.
What are you waiting for?
We'll call, but they don't get back. They don't get back to
Is that
me.
going to motivate this place?
You understand, everyone needs to understand, our DEP works very slowly.
I know that. That's why if you don't push them,
Pushing doesn't always go much further, but I understand what you're saying, but you got to understand the process. There's a process in
I
there.
do understand the process. I've been involved.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public like to address? Well, I'll go in order. Ms. Martin, go ahead, and then you'll be next.
Helen Martin, 59 White Way. Can I ask you a question? The reason for the master plan and the reason for the zoning to be changed to commercial was for what reason? Can you tell me?
Sure, it's future use of the site.
Okay. Why do we have to change it then, instead of keeping it residential for golf courses or whatever?
Because that's not a future use of the site. We will never put residential there. We're never going to put residential.
Right.
So we can't, why?
Why?
Because Comores will not allow it. They don't want it.
Okay.
We don't want it.
Okay.
Okay? So the next best step to get tax dollars off that property is a hybrid commercial use.
Okay, so what I'm getting from you, and what I wanted to ask you is, you don't want to jeopardize putting residential or like a golf course or something of that sort
No,
of
golf
thing.
course could- it's just what-
Because DuPont doesn't feel that's...
No, they have no say in that.
Okay, then the EPA, you just said that Camorras would not allow that.
Our zoning, when you say us, when the town, our perspective up here is we don't want residential there, only for the simple fact, there's always things changing on a site. I can't tell you what'll happen 10
But
years from
that's
now.
exactly what I'm trying to get at to you. By changing that to commercial, and I'm begging you not to, they can cap it, they can do less of the cleanup, and yes, you're protecting whoever might go there, but you're not protecting the residents that are still going to get whatever comes off that
And
property.
I understand that.
And if they put foundations in, or if they dig for slabs, you're disturbing that soil. And if Camorras doesn't want that, and you don't want that, why is it acceptable for us, the residents, and you speak of, for the town, the residents of the town? I'm a resident.
Sure.
I live in that area. I have to worry every day.
I understand.
Every day. So I strongly oppose the ordinance 1913, because if DuPont's contaminated property zoning is changed, the commercial industrial contamination could remain on that site. And that's a fact. Threatening the health and safety of families, poisoning the drinking water and air we breathe, reducing property value, endangering our environment, exposing future generations of children to toxic waste, and permanently leaving a stigma on the town. And I know that you say this is a town problem, but where's the rest of the town? It's only the residents that I see here that are affected.
Where's
And
the
this
rest
is
of
what I'm saying. I understand that property has to be developed, I understand that we have to change things and that, but we also have to understand the people that live here and live in that threat is there all the time. And by changing that to commercial, we just let DuPont off the hook to do a so-so cleanup and move on. And once they're gone, they're gone. Thank you.
All right, so just to follow up on that, you know, at the end of the day, the EPA and the DEP will tell me if that site is clean or not. They are telling me now, right now, and this is the question everyone will ask, and hopefully some of the residents will be here when the commissioners, it's a question that should be asked, because I keep hearing it all the time, things are still coming off the property, okay? If they answer that and say it's not, I've got to believe that. I am not a scientist, and neither are you guys. If that's what they say, then that's what they say. Okay, I can only go by that. I can't say I don't believe you. They're the group I need to talk to about it.
I can put it in writing in front of them.
Okay, well, that, you can do that when you talk to them, but that's what I've been told. Okay, can't take it back. Next, no, you can't, sorry.
I'll get up next.
Next time. No, you can't, next session.
Next session.
Yes.
That's what I mean.
No way. Hello, Cheryl Rubino, and for me to drive an hour to come up here from Middlesex Borough, obviously this is pretty important. I'm a property owner at 140 Perrin Ave. My mom still lives in that house.
And what address do you use?
I use 524 Howard Ave, Middlesex, New Jersey. So I'm a resident in Middlesex, a property owner in Pompton Lakes, a mother who lives in that house. A mother who has a neurological disease that does not run in our family, which can be linked to the contamination. So obviously vested interest. You guys know me very much from the horizontal well. I was the one that pressed for that. Everybody has mentioned this. We cannot change the zoning until it gets cleaned up. It has to be cleaned up first to the best possible residential standards. This mayor and council is supposed to represent the residents. The future of this town is not how a developed piece of parcel is. We've got other developments going on right now. Salvation Army property, I've seen some stuff proposed for the main street in town. That property should be focused on cleanup and not redevelopment, period. End of conversation. It cannot be rezoned. If you rezone it, they will cap it. They've already passed the fact that they will allow capping on VOC, which means now not only is the plume not being cleaned, the property will not be cleaned. So I'm sitting here and I'm asking everyone in this council, you guys cannot rezone this property at this time. A vote for no is what has to happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The other thing other people, you also need to understand, and this is my own personal opinion, this is not the council's opinion, we can't zone something residential, because once we pick that as what it's going to be, that's what's going to be there, residential. We can't zone something residential and then say, we're not putting residents there. You can't change it, because then you can, sure, but then there's going to be a lawsuit involved, and they're going to say, you made us try to cling to this, and they're going to win this lawsuit, in my opinion, because we can't spot zone it. We can't say we want residential, we don't want residential there, but we want you to clean it to residential. You can't, it doesn't work that way. Okay, good.
Ann Passanelli, 5 Lambert Street. But it's residential now, is what I'm understanding.
It's a small percentage residential, yes.
Okay? I don't have the article with me, because I didn't expect to talk. Mount Laurel, capped in areas. I have to pull the article, I have a pile of papers, I will find it. And years later, the contamination of the property that was capped began to seep out from underneath the capping, okay? That right there is an obvious reason why everyone here and myself disagrees. I feel it's preempted what's going on. I don't think it has to be done. And when you said DuPont won't allow it, but who's going to own the property when and if industry or residential?
DuPont won't.
They'll still own the
they'll never
property, but
sell the
they will
property.
lease it out to have commercial come on there, to add to the contamination maybe that's already there, so that now the people who live there will not only be dealing with the leftover DuPont contamination, they'll be dealing with whatever else they decide to put there. So, with that said, it's a very difficult thing for me to understand, but these people, and especially the CCPL, talk about research. They do their homework, and they have not stopped. And maybe you've tried to do some research on what's going on, but you couldn't, all of you together could not match the hours, the days, the weeks, the months, and the years that these people have done their homework to come here, to be able to come here and tell you what they're telling you. They're not telling a story, they're telling the truth. And somebody's got to listen to them. And they did get people to listen to them, okay? Because they don't have a horizontal well going through their properties. So, if there is such a thing, I'm voting no against that same ordinance. 1913, I vote no.
Okay, and to follow up with you, when you say they did the homework, I'm sure they did the homework. The only homework I can say we've done is our homework is the DEP and EPA. They are the experts for us. We have to believe someone. We can't go around saying we don't believe everybody, okay? I am not making these choices. I don't have a background in this. This is not something I am supposed to be doing, or anybody on this council. It's when the EPA or the DEP tell us what has to be done. That's the only thing I can go by. You guys are more than welcome to your opinions. You're more than welcome to do your research. You're more than welcome to fight with the DEP about what you think is right or wrong. But if the DEP comes back and tells me this is what I have to do. I don't really have a say on that. Nope, can't, sorry. Because I didn't let her, I can't. Anyone else from the public? Please step up.
Hi, Joyce Byrne, 58 Mandeville Street. I just want to say I've been fighting the DuPont contamination for over 20 years, as with many others. And you just did a cleanup on the lake, which cost millions of dollars. You didn't, but it cost DuPont millions of dollars. I don't understand why we can't clean the DuPont lands, the highest standards possible, so it doesn't recontaminate everything. The homes now, it's $450 in a plume. It could be $900 in a few years if we don't do something about it now. And I don't want my kids and my grandkids or anyone else's fighting this for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. It's ridiculous. Our human value, we have to keep, our human life. That's the most important. I understand we need ratables. I understand we want to see something done with the property. But I see too much brain cancer. I see too much cancer in this town. It's not acceptable. That's all I have to say.
Look,
I vote no to the...
I understand. This is, you guys think this is an easy thing for us, it's not. Most of the people here I know, or I know through some way, this is not an easy decision for us. I have to talk to the people, I talk to people myself. I don't have the answers, so when I go to the DEP, you ask me to bring questions. Someone asks me to bring questions, I will call them and ask those questions. I have no problem in doing that. You give me a list of 20 things, I will call them and ask those 20 things. I'm trying to get education and information at the end of the day. That's what I'm trying to do to my residents, okay? Yes, this is a very vocal, strong group here, but the town is 11,000 people I have to worry about. It's not just the 50 people in this room. Granted, you're sitting in the middle of, point blank right there, I understand that, but I also am responsible for 11,000 other people. So it's a very delicate thing, and it's a lot of time and energy on this council. We've spent a lot of time and energy trying to figure out the best alternative here, what we can do. This is not a shot in the dark, we're done with this thing. This is people in the room who've been here a long time know, this is 30 years already done, probably another 20 years to finish the whole thing. This is well past what we're going to be. This is the part we're dealing with right now. That's all I can tell you. Anyone else from the public? Come on up.
Richard Orphis, property owner of 14 Poplar Street, current resident of 71 Hollywood Ave, Fairfield. My concern is what my neighbors have mostly been saying. Changing it to a hybrid industrial is going to allow for a capping of it, allow the pollutants to stay on the site. Yearly, it feels very similar to the acid brook cleanup. How that was done, how we just cleaned up along the lake, and I'm worried that that's going to happen again. This pollution is going to continue to spread, and it's just going to kind of go away from public eye. So.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else from public?
Hi, Peter Sizlak, 314 Woodlawn Avenue. Thank you for posting the changed voting date. So the DEP commissioner said that she's going to be coming down for a meeting. Is that a separate meeting than the monthly DEP meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Now, granted, I'd really like to request that we table, or what's the word?
Could you talk up a little bit?
Sure.
Is that microphone working? I don't think it's working.
I don't know, I can't tell. You guys are
I'll speak louder. Nothing kicked in, actually. I'd really like to request that, that the ordinance 1913 be tabled until after the lawsuit's done. I don't think you're going to agree with that. So I think at a minimum, I'd like to see ordinance 1913 tabled till after the meeting with the DEP commissioner. That is a good opportunity for us to put some pressure on that aspect. I know we come to you guys and put pressure on you enough. And some of that probably should be directed to them as well, and that's a good opportunity to do so. And I request the space for us to make those requests. So, thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if that can happen because there's a lot of legal parts of it that are involved with noticing and things like that. I will tell you, though, that the commissioner said, and the EPA has also said, this has nothing to do with us at the end of the day. This is a zoning issue. This is not a cleanup issue. They will still decide the best cleanup for the property, depending on whatever. It doesn't matter what we do. If they decide tomorrow the cleanup should be residential standards and we don't put that, they could do that. If they decide to make it light industrial, they could do that. That's up to them to decide. My biggest problem, I'm going to be honest, my biggest problem is the fact that I would like the EPA and the DEP to step up and be more involved in this process and give us a little more information on what's going on, because this is a big deal. This is a big decision. But the commissioner has basically said she understands what we're doing. It's our decision at the end of the day, but they will come up with a standard to clean by. Same way they came up with the lake standard. And I know some people are not happy with the standard for the lake, but that's the standard that they came up with, and they will come up with a standard for the property, same way. I can't promise. So let me just explain the meeting a little bit. It's the commissioners' meeting. It's very vague at this point. I have asked and recommended I'd like, a maximum of 40 residents. maybe 20 of some of the people in this audience and 20 some other people. I'd like everybody to be in the same room to hear all the same information together, so there's no miscommunication on what something was said. When that meeting is put in place, I'm sure she'll take questions. I hope she'll take questions. I know some people in this room have met with her, and some of us up here have met with her separately. She's very accommodating. She does listen. She does take questions. So, that's the opportunity to do that. Don't forget, we have our EPA representative here tomorrow. You guys are more than welcome to come and talk to him. Everything you brought up here, I don't know why isn't being brought up to the EPA. I'll be honest, I don't know.
We work,
Okay, well, I'm here every Thursday, and I don't see a lot of people there.
They know us.
I understand that, but
Believe me.
I think that's a good start. They need to hear the message from everyone, they're here. And I give them credit for being here, first of all. They come every week. That's a good start. The DEP, hasn't, but we'll hopefully get there. But it's a good start with your concerns and questions. Anyone else from the public like to address? Please step up.
Good evening, Mayor and the Council. Bill Pendexter, 198 Hilltop Court. For over 25 years, I've worked in the environmental business as a consultant, working on industrial, commercial sites, private properties, and so forth. And any soil cleanup that's done on a property, whether it be commercial, residential, whatever, is always done for the projected use of that property, whether it be residential, industrial, commercial, whatever. In New Jersey, there are two standards for most compounds in soil, and it's all based on the exposure that the people that are going to be on that property are going to have. Commercial properties, people are not there 24 hours a day. Residential properties, they can be. So the residential criteria are typically more stringent, so they're lower. Neither for the compounds that are of primary concern the example of the Plume residence, the compound TCE, PC, the chlorinated solvents, neither the residential or the non-residential criteria do anything to protect the groundwater. They're both very, very high. But a responsible party has to take into account the impact to groundwater criteria and try to address that. Those criteria, the standard, actually they're not criteria, they're screening levels, but they can establish site-specific criteria. Those levels are typically 3, 4, or 5 orders of magnitude less than residential or commercial or non-residential. So there are apples and oranges being talked about here. The soil criteria that are addressed on a property typically are done because of exposure. And whether it's residential or non-residential, it can be capped. There are many, many different technologies that can be used to take care of the contamination. You can ship it out somewhere else, you can burn it, you can do all sorts of things, you can cap it. Those are all technologies that are allowed by DEP, by EPA, by any regulatory agency in the states, so forth. So there are many different things going on here that are being mixed together that, to me, it's a little irksome, I guess you might say, because they don't all make sense necessarily. The groundwater contamination that's in the plume, that stuff originated decades and decades and decades ago. That's being addressed through whatever means that they can. No one's drinking that shallow water, and the vapor intrusion, they're trying to take care of that by putting in systems. There are other ways of addressing that, but that all gets taken care of, like you say, by DEP. That's under their purview. They're the steward of the groundwater. They will oversee what is necessary.
Thank you. So you bring up a good point in that a lot of the discussion about the property, we're talking about removing the lead and mercury on the property. The vapor intrusion, the cleanup standards have nothing to do with the vapor intrusion. This is just about the lead and mercury. There's many, many spots throughout the state, gas stations, old cleaners, whatever you want to call it, that have been capped and residential put right on top of it, because that's the standard the DEP came up with. There's others that they said, no, you have to take all the dirt out, take it away and move it. There's burning involved. There's special plants that'll come in and they burn it. My guess is, and I don't know this for sure, but my guess is it's going to be a combination of all three of those things, no matter what standard is set on the property, to make those things happen. The vapor intrusion aspect of it has nothing to do with the cleanup of the property. The vapor intrusion's in the aquifers, it's in the water. They're trying, and it's very new science, so there's not a lot to do. We all didn't want the well to happen, and they didn't do that. So, the best they can do right now for the vapor intrusion is a system. So and you're correct in the fact that we don't want to combine those two things. There's two separate things here. There's the lead and mercury and there's the vapor. The lead and mercury is what they'll be keep cleaning up on the property. Anyone else from the public? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public session? Council President Reiner. Second. Councilman Bennett. All in favor? Aye. Against. I'm going to give an opportunity for anybody up here who wants to address. They are more than welcome to, since I gave everybody else. If you don't have to either. Anybody? Anybody? Okay. Move along. Okay. Approval of minutes. Motion to approve the following minutes. Regular meeting minutes of April 10th, 2019. Have a motion. Council President Riker. Second. Councilman Bennett. All in favor? Aye. Against? Bills and claims. Motion to approve the following bills as listed below. Councilman Begg. Second. Councilman Bennett. All in favor? Aye. Against? Consent agenda whenever you're ready. Anybody need anything removed? Nope.
Whereas the mayor and council of the borough of Pompton Lakes have reviewed the consent agenda consisting of various proposed resolutions, whereas the mayor and council of the borough of Pompton Lakes does not desire to move resolutions for individual action from that agenda. Now, therefore be it resolved that the following resolutions on the consent agenda are hereby approved. Resolution 19-97 through Resolution 19-103.
Motion to approve the consent agenda. So moved, Mayor. Second. Councilman Giaconetti, Councilman Bennett. All in favor? Aye. Against? First readings.
Ordinance 19-15. Ordinance will be presented for second reading and final adoption on May 8th. An ordinance amending Section 8-2 of Chapter 8, Noise of the Borough Administrative Code.
This ordinance is for the purpose of creating a noise restriction and a regulation in the borough. It is in a form that we adopted it once before, but there were 3 or 4 things the state wasn't happy with. It's now in a form that the state will accept, the DEP will accept under their noise guidance. So right now the way it reads is the way it has to read.
Okay. Motion to approve ordinance 1915 for introduction.
So moved.
Councilman Begg. Second. Councilman Giaconetti. Roll call, please.
Councilman Giaconetti.
Yes.
Councilwoman Riker.
Yes.
Councilman Bennett.
Yes.
Councilman Day.
Yes. I might point out, by the way, that I listened very carefully to what Mr. Meekum said, and that's one of the reasons that this ordinance is drafted, because it will control noise, especially noise between the hours of 9 p.m. and 8 a.m. in the morning.
Okay. Ordinance number 1916.
An ordinance amending Section 2-56 Open Space Parkland Recreational Facilities Advisory Committee.
Yeah, if you want me to.
Yeah.
The purpose of this is simply to change, at the request of the Open Space Committee, to change the format for the membership, so that there will be two types of membership in the Open Space Committee: regular members and ex officio members. All will have the right to discuss matters, and all will have the right to vote on them, but a quorum will only be based upon the number of regular members.
And that came out of the whole open space discussion. It was the discussion of the Open Space Committee. Motion approval number 1916 for introduction. So moved. Councilman Bennett? Second. Councilman Begg, roll call, please.
Councilman Giaconetti.
Yes.
Councilman Rick.
Yes.
Councilman Bennett.
Yes.
Councilman Day.
Yes.
Okay, for second reading, ordinance 1913 will be carried till the next council meeting.
Just like you would do with take a motion to carry.
Oh, okay. I need a motion to carry ordinance 1913 to the May 8th meeting. Council President Riker?
Second.
Councilman Bay? Roll call. Roll call, please.
Councilman Giaconetti.
Yes.
Councilman Rice.
Yes.
Councilman Bennett.
Yes.
Councilman Day.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 1914 for second reading.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor and clerk to execute the Second Amendment to the lease by and between the Borough and Ocean Lake Realty for Pompton Lakes Teen Center.
This is just our release with the Teen Center. Motion to open the meeting for public comments on ordinance 1914.
So moved.
Council President Riker? Second. Councilman Bennett? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public like to address just this ordinance? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the meeting for public comments on ordinance 1914?
So moved.
Councilman Bay?
Second.
Councilman Giaconetti? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion to approve ordinance 1914 for final adoption. Well, it's just a teen center release, that's all.
No, I know, but it says Second Amendment, that's the only reason.
For what?
Excuse the Second Amendment to the leases.
It is the Second Amendment to the lease. Yeah, we've had a lease, and we've had an amendment, this is the Second Amendment.
Okay, anything special about it, that's all I have.
Just the only changes the money.
Okay, so it's just the standard operating procedure, okay. All right.
Okay, motion to approve ordinance 1914 for final adoption.
So moved.
Councilman Giaconetti.
Second.
Council President Riker. Roll call, please.
Councilman Giaconetti.
Yes.
Councilman Riker.
Yes.
Councilman Bennett.
Yes.
Councilman Day.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, under my report, I attended, along with a lot of council up here, the Easter egg hunt, which is always a nice event. We had lots of kids. I'm going to say 300-400 kids showed up. The Recreation Department does an outstanding job in getting that to run. And always a nice time to see the kids counting down the seconds till they can pick up their candy off the floor. Like I mentioned before, we did have a meeting with the AG and the Commissioner. Part of the reason I wanted the meeting was the fact that when things are happening, at least in this town, someone in this town, my administrator, myself, someone should be made aware of what's going on. Now, I understand the AG told me that it was tight-lipped. It wasn't about Pompton Lakes. It was about four communities, about the lawsuit for damages, and I understand they didn't want to release that. But he could have at least told me what was going on in town. He asked to close a road down, and that's the only reason I knew he was coming to Pompton Lakes. When you have someone of that caliber coming to your town, you just want to know about it. And he understood that, and he apologized to me for the oversight of that. And he's going to work with his staff to do a better job in getting information out, at least at the mayor level. So, we were never fighting him on the thing. We just wanted to know what it was about, that's all. And with the commissioner, like I had said before, she's been here once already. She actually came twice when she met with one group of residents and then met with another. So, she's showing an interest in this project. She's involved with this project. I thought the way it was communicated at the press conference with the commissioner, the NRD, which was talked about, somehow though Pompton Lakes got dragged into just like a vague discussion, and it wasn't fair to our community. That's how I felt. That's my personal opinion. If they wanted to talk about Pompton Lakes and about the cleanup, I would more than happy to have them come and do that. But when they're doing NRD or National Resource Damages comment, that's what they need to stick to. I don't know why we have to be dragged, just because Pompton Lakes has concerns here and has some major problems with the polluter in town, that every time there's something involving pollution in the state of New Jersey, we have to fall under that headline. Okay, when it's about us, sure, they should be here. But if there's something going on in South Jersey that involves damages or pollution, Pompton Lakes doesn't have to get dragged into the conversation every time. It's not helping your property values, it's not helping anybody's property values. I know that's not what you guys want to hear, but that's what I hear from the residents. They're very upset about it. They are extremely upset about it. And I understand that. But when I say I represent 11,000 people, I have to represent everybody. I can't just represent a small group. I understand. Okay, thank you. I attended the planning board meeting last week where this motion was passed unanimously 9-0, 9-0 vote-wise, to be brought up to the mayor and council to vote on, which will happen next meeting. I attended the zoning board meeting, which has some discussion on some new properties that will be housing up. I attended the rec meeting, and she asked me to mention, because Councilman Palladori is not here, Get Fit has 2 more classes this month. Will end May 1st. Classes are $5, drop in at any time, and they're at Lincoln School. And we are still looking for summer counselors and camp. You can sign up online on our website if you're interested in summer camp for your children. We are looking for a DPW summer help. Do we have a number of how many we're looking for?
No, there's at least 3 or 4 more.
All right, so we're looking for, and it's part-time, how many hours? 20?
Who knows?
40? Yeah. All right, so we're looking for part-time summer help. If you have any college students that would like to make some extra money, we're looking for part-time help with the DPW. It would be the months of July and August, or June, or whenever they get out of school, till whenever they
Do
can
they
stay.
have to be 18?
17. They always do a great help for us. You know, we have a lot of stuff to move around in the summertime with brush and grass clippings and things. So if you know anybody's interested, please have them contact the office here or the DPW. And finally, we will be doing a grand opening for the new Cardinal Cafe this Friday at 6 o'clock. Everyone's aware that they moved from their location, and they moved up the street a little bit. They're doing well. The place is beautiful. I don't think they lost a beat in the number of people going in the store. So congratulations to them, and congratulations to the new store going up. There is still a lot of discussion about redevelopment. I understand that everyone sees the Salvation Army going up there. That is the elevator shaft. Everybody's been asking me what that big structure is. It's the elevator shaft. That is not the building. They will be building a structure there. The parking is not underneath. Some people believe the parking is underneath. The parking is in the back, along the sides there. It's, is it 45?
No, 52.
52 units. They're being ambitious and hoping to be done by September. I don't see that happening, but I would hope. I think it'll look nice when it's all said and done. It will be all brick to match the high school and the post office, and hopefully it'll be a new first experience. And let's remember, at the end of the day, that project alone could bring in $60,000 to $70,000 extra in taxes every year for 30 years through a pilot, which is a big help. Our taxes are a problem in this town, and this will help. And that is my report. Council President Riker.
Okay. Mayor, I think we said enough about the meeting we attended in Trenton, so just a couple of quick other comments. This is a comment or a question for the administrator and others up here. I'm thrilled to announce that the Summit Road project is completed, and we know that the person who did the project won the bid. How do we, in a bidding situation, prevent us from getting stuck with someone who doesn't know how to do a project like that in the future? Because that project went, just for everyone's edification, that project was so long, we were already into a liquidated damages situation, which indicates just that they were significantly over the accepted time period. So how do we avoid that going forward?
It's almost impossible to avoid that, because unless there is a record from other towns that had issues with the contractor, to be able to overtake a low bid is very difficult. There's not much you can do. It's very hard.
Is there any place that we go on record that we clearly
What will happen is that when we're called, our engineering staff or myself will make a recommendation to the town. We've had problems with the contractor, and we weren't pleased with his operation. That's really, there's not much more that can be done relative to that. It's just this low bid situation. Turns out sometimes you get a problem. And then conversely, for cleanup, Grant Ave did a wonderful job. That project's done in a timely fashion. I was just there today, it's all paved, they're in and out, lickety split. I hate to say it, the coin toss, who wins or loses.
Well, for whatever it's worth, one of the things you might be happy to hear is I was driving the other day. I know a number of people have remarked to me that the guardrail was much higher than the original rail, and a couple of the young deer were flustered by the guardrail, and they couldn't find they couldn't jump over it for the time being. I assume they'll get big enough to jump over it, but for the time being, it kept them a little off
So it's
their
deer
mark.
prevention, you're saying?
It's deer prevention, exactly.
We don't do enough for that.
Just a couple of real quick announcements. The mayor talked about the successful Easter egg hunt. They did a fabulous job, but there are a bunch of things coming up, some as soon as this weekend and going forward, that you probably want to mark your calendars that Mayor did share with you, so get your pens and papers out. This weekend in the high school parking lot, the FBLA, that's the Future Business Leaders of America, are doing a spring cleaning. They're asking you to look through your closets for clothing, bedding, and they're trying to raise money because the Future Business Leaders of America, our group in town, has been very successful over the years, and success has its price, and the price is that they always need to raise money to get to the national meetings. So this is one of their fundraisers. So if for some reason you have some things that you no longer need, they are calling it their spring cleaning, and it will be in the parking lot Saturday morning of the high school. We also have a June 1st, it was announced the shredding. So the shredding isn't for your clothes, it's for your excess papers. I know we had a shredding party last year, it was very successful. So mark your calendar, June 1st, that will also be in the pond hall. Bid buck sale, you've heard us talk up here a lot, that the bid bucks are a very significant way of bringing not only our own residents, but residents from neighboring communities into the town, and the bid has changed the number of sales they have. They've increased the sales, so the next one is Saturday, May 4th. It starts at 11, and they run the sale out of the office on Wanacue Avenue. Another thing, WGHT, for those of you who don't know, is up and running, and I'm finding that people from neighboring communities are approaching me and saying, hey, we're so happy, the radio is up and going, and we're getting a lot of positive feedback from people, especially people from Wayne and West Milford have mentioned it to me, so I think word is beginning to get out that they are up and running. I guess the last thing that I want to say is, as everyone knows, this is a holiday week. Many people up here have celebrated Easter last weekend, but this is still Passover. Passover began Friday night, and we're going all the way through Saturday evening is the holiday, and as I traditionally do, this marks the end of my catering season, guys. So traditionally during Passover, the traditional sweet is a macaroon, so I brought a can of macaroons, so Bill, grab them and we'll pass them, and I brought a whole can, so there's enough for everybody here. So I hope everyone had a happy holiday, and Mayor, that's my report.
Thank you. Just to follow up on the project, did they paint the wall yet?
No, they'll do that when the weather gets a little better.
So that's coming up. That's the last thing they have to do?
Yeah, that'll be painted so it blends in with the brown and the dirt colors of the...
But that's the only thing that's outstanding, is that? Okay. Councilman Giaconetti.
Thank you, Mayor. Wanted to thank you and relay the message to me you met with the Attorney General, but I would like to thank them, Attorney General and the DEP Commissioner, and also the representative of the Governor's Office. At least they explained to what happened, so it made me feel better when you came back and explained to me what was said in that meeting, and I appreciate them. They should be thanked, and hopefully, next time we'll be a little bit better, so at least they were open and receptive, and which was good, so I wanted to thank them publicly. Also wanted to congratulate our 3 essay winners tonight from the 3 schools. All 3 of them did an excellent job, and you guys must have a heck of a time going through picking them. And kudos again to all our commissioners, but especially to our Shade Tree Commission. I'm always there with them, and they do a lot of hard work. Everybody there puts in a lot of time, puts in a lot of hard work. And thank you to you guys for everything you do. I appreciate it. Town appreciates it. And a good job tonight again, as usual.
And I think they asked for you, unbelievably, but they asked for you.
Well, why would they? Yeah. But anyway, again, good jobs, and to all our boards. But again, good job. Also, just wanted to thank everybody involved with the Easter egg hunt. The Easter Bunny, I tell you, was online for at least 1,000 pictures. That poor Easter Bunny, let me tell you, she really was good. I tell you, there had to be over 400 children there. That was the estimate we had, and it went for well over an hour. And all the kids were thrilled, and so many people were there with their families. And it was good to see a nice family function. It was an overcast day, but the smiles on their faces, it was great, and it was good to see a lot of participation. And again, Karen Murphy and all the people on the commission there do a wonderful job, and all the volunteers, kids from the high school putting out all the candy, everybody. Ekman even putting out candy, doing a good job. Everybody, a wonderful job. Thank you again. That's all I have, Mayor.
And just to follow up, you did mention, I forgot to mention the Zonta Club, which is a great help to a lot of the events we do in town. It's a group in the school that comes out and helps us to support. They did a lot of the work there at that Easter egg hunt, so congratulations to them. Councilman Bennett.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to congratulate the Arbor Day contest winners as well. It takes a lot of courage to get up in front of a group of adults and speak at such a young age. Historic Commission meeting met last night. We continued discussion on the purchase of the Schuyler House to hopefully become the future home of the Pompton Museum. The Schuyler House over Pompton Museum.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
All right, moving on. Trails maintenance coming up on May 11th at 2 p.m. You'll see the daffodils coming up in the south end that we worked very hard to plant over the winter. Also on May 11th, there is a paint and plant over by the library. And the book sale is going on Friday, May 10th, Saturday, May 11th.
And the Friends of the Library, do you have that information?
So you can still drop off books, I think, through April 30th, and they're very nice when you drop them off. They're very happy to have them.
And that is my report.
Okay, to follow up, our anniversary, 120 or 25?
125.
125 is next year. That's a nice anniversary for a town, so it would be great if we could get a museum. We have a lot of history that's been saved by a lot of different people here, so we're trying to see what we can do with a foreclosed house over on Perrin, and maybe do a joint effort with the county and maybe get the fire department involved, so hopefully that could all work for us. It would be a nice improvement down there. Councilman Begg.
Thank you. I received the Pompton Lakes Police Department's report for the month of March from Chief Augusto. There were 2,171 calls for service for the month of March. There were 687 motor vehicle stops, 463 motor vehicle summonses issued, 23 motor vehicle accidents investigated, 77 medical emergency calls, 3 DWI arrests, 24 alarm conditions burglary, 13 alarm conditions fire, 10 fire calls, 71 ambulance requests, 4 burglaries, 9 thefts, 7 domestics, no sexual assaults, and no aggravated assaults. The Detective Bureau investigated 22 complaints, served 11 summonses, and no warrants. I attended the Pompton Lakes Community Partnership, the bid meeting, on April 18th. Aurora DeLone from the Pompton Lakes Health Department gave a presentation on the Sigma 3 initiative that's been initiated by both the Board of Education and the town. President John Susan reported the bid is developing a new procedure for handling the bid books. The new operators of WGHT attended the meeting and spoke about the station's programming and introduced their advertising sales staff. A report was given the pricing for the LED replacement lights, the street lights. The price was $552, and the bulbs would have a 10-year life. The bid is preparing a report on the impact of residents in the Pond Hole parking lot. That's the new residents. The Pompton Lakes Historic Commission came before the bid seeking financial assistance for the upcoming 125th anniversary of Pompton Lakes. It would be for banners and signs. The bid will be holding their next sale, which was mentioned, be on May 4th at 11 to 1 p.m., 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the bid office, 274 Wanacue Ave. I attended the Pompton Lakes Prevention Coalition presentation, How to Talk to Youth About Marijuana Use. That was held at the Pompton Lakes Library on April 11th. The speaker was a Sean Foley, a psychologist. I attended the Pompton Lakes Recreation Committee egg hunt at Hirschfield Park. As was mentioned before, it was a great success. I attended the Pompton Lakes OEM meeting this morning with Coordinator Al Evangelista. The speaker was Robin Heston and Murphy, a supervisor at the NJDEP. She spoke about the procedure for applying for permits for temporary debris management area, an area where storm debris would be temporarily moved. I also attended the planning board meeting on Tuesday, and the mayor and I were there. We're members of the committee. I also attended the Golden Ages meeting, Randy. Okay, and we had discussion, question and answer of all the participants here. And that's my report.
Thank you. Professional report. I have no report. Minister's report.
I just have a couple things, Mayor. Received a letter from ISO, which is an insurance rating company. Our billing department was reviewed, and we had a billing classification with 3. It goes from 1 to 5 being high, so we're above average. Between this rating and the ratings on the fire department, had to kind of set the town relative to homeowners insurance. So that's a positive for any commercial businesses. That's a positive for the community. That's a good rating. We applied for the 2020 pedestrian safety grant to the state. We're going to be doing a note sale in June for $2,520,000. That will include the rollover from the note last year, which was the ordinance last year, and also adding the new money in for the ordinance we did this year. So note sale goes off on June the 6th. I provide the council with a 2019 inlet program. We do as our catch basin program as part of our stormwater management, and the plans are there. It outlines the different areas and different projects, and of course take quotes on that, because it's usually keep under the bid threshold of $40,000, and that'll be done. And also, lastly, we received, Comores sends the NJDEP a quarterly progress report of everything that's being done on and off the site. We've been getting them for years, and the first quarter progress report is there. And I think some of that, just looking through it, ties into what the DEP newsletter was. We start looking at some of it kind of has some similar ties to that. So that's my report.
Okay, on the catch basins, how do we identify which ones are the worst ones? Is there an engineer?
A couple ways. First of all, we spent significant dollars to have every catch basin in town evaluated and put on a GPS system. And so what happens with that evaluation, we determine what basins have to be cleaned, debris. That's where we have Ringo come in and do all the catch basin cleaning. Still also evaluates the catch basins as to what's been done to repair or do any type of pointing of the catch basins. That's the one. The other one is just normal phone call. We had a lady call off of Central, said that since the winter time, said might have been a sinkhole next to the catch basin. That wasn't on the original, it's because it happened in winter time. A lot of catch basins now on. So it's a combination of phone calls, visual inspection by DPW, the police department, and also through our company stormwater management, goes out and does a review of each catch basin every year.
So I would hope, like in our flood-prone areas, that at least those catch basins are being inspected once a year, just to make sure that...
Everything gets inspected, but those specifically get cleaned every year.
They do get cleaned every year?
Every year. Those are the ones that definitely get cleaned every year.
Okay. And then if a resident has a concern about a catch basin, they can always make a call and say, can someone come look at this catch basin?
Yeah, we do that.
Who do they call?
They can call Borough Hall and ask for me, that's no problem. That's not an issue. And under stormwater management criteria, the DEP comes here every year and evaluates our operation. So we just had our inspector come. So this is an ongoing process. So it's not something we can kind of slough off. We have to go through since we're a tier A community. So it's rather an intense process every year.
Okay, great. Any questions from? Nope. Okay, can I have a motion to open the meeting for public comments? So moved. Council President Riker? Second. Councilman Day? All in favor? Aye. Against? Anyone from the public like to address? Please step up.
I just have a follow-up comment from what you said about, you know...
Oh, name and address, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Joyce Fern, 58 Mandeville. That you have to take care of the whole town, not just the few of us that are here and that always complain about DuPont. But the DuPont contamination does affect the whole community.
Of course, yeah, no question.
And the stigma for a dirty town is not good for any of us, and neither is the elevated cancer risk for anybody. So I just want to say that does affect the whole town.
Oh, it carries weight, no question, yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So a clean town would go far.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Please step up.
Helen Martins, 59 Right Way. Before, when you were saying about the cleanup and the groundwater with the vapor is nothing to do with the cleanup. The groundwater got contaminated from what they spilled on the property. So that's still on the property.
Well, no.
And any future business that goes in there that does any of that, it's going to seep into our groundwater. And that vapor intrusion system is not 100% protective, okay? But what I want to say is you tell us about the DEP and how they check with DuPont and what they're doing. In 2001, the DEP told DuPont there was a problem with vapor intrusion. It took them 7 years before they came through and said about that. So where was the DEP to say, wait a minute, that's unacceptable. That's unacceptable that you wait and you're waiting and you know there's a problem. So I have a problem with the DEP because I feel like they failed there. They should have stopped them right then and there and said, you need to address this now. So how do we protect ourselves if you say the DEP is looking after us?
That's a question I would bring up to DEP. That's a good question. Anyone else? Please step up.
Evening, Howard Street, Pompton Lakes, New Jersey. Just for the record, I want to go back to the public notice, 405513, Planning Board, when they're discussing master plan. Tonight's agenda, obviously you can see on there that Liz published in the, or clerk, I'm sorry, published in the Suburban Trends, it says published. On the agenda for the Planning Board reorganization meeting of January 16th, when the master plan was discussed, it says provided to the Suburban Trends. So was that published that night?
Yes.
That was published in the newspaper.
Do you want me to answer, or you don't want me to answer? All right, so we had an issue with the secretary at that point.
I'm asking, was it published?
I will
don't
find
want to
out.
hear about the secretary.
I will find out, but the secretary was let go because she wasn't doing the job she was supposed to. I will find out if it was published or not. I don't know offhand. I'd have to find that out.
Well, I mean, obviously it says that it was provided to the Suburban Trends. It doesn't say published. I know that you told me before, oh, you know, this takes a lot of time. Nobody knows how much time it takes more than me, because I was sitting in a seat up here. I was sitting on the planning board. I was the vice chairman of the zoning board. I know what time is, and I've given a lot of time to this community, so when I come up here and speak, I don't like to be badgered after I'm done speaking. Well, I'm just saying, you may think...
You're badgering me right now?
No, I'm not badgering. I'm just explaining how I feel. You know, I don't like confrontation. You don't like confrontation. I'm not here to confront you. I'm here to just let you know that I think there's a deficiency in your public notice of the master plan. And if there is, I think it's null and void. And in the minutes, Mayor, I read that you said, make everything bigger, and the housing element over there, we don't have to worry really too much about the buffer, because there's wellheads in the buffer area over there. Well, like I stated before, Valbruna Steel Company is 300 feet away from me. When they're loading with a fork truck, when they're dropping steel, I hear it constantly, bang, 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 bang. When they're bouncing down Cannonball Road, we all hear it.
Were you there before they were there?
Before Valbruna was there? I believe I was there.
But DuPont was working at that time.
No, they weren't.
So it was an empty site?
That building was another company.
Okay, so
And
you
they
bought
sold
next
it
to a
them.
company.
But-
John Royal.
John Royale, correct, and they were there for years, so, I mean, I had no say over what John Royale did, but they didn't have the steel traffic and noise that comes off of that type of business. And when you put in the master plan, research and development, are we gonna be working on monkeys? Are we gonna be working on, the language is vague. You could be working on chemical weapons for all I know. I don't think that's such a good idea to put that kind of language in there.
Then you should bring that to the planning board. You want to know that.
Another thing about public notice, which I'm very aware of, we have 160 people that live in the condos, the Highlands condominiums up there, okay? And that property borders the DuPont property, all right? The public notice under 4055D-13 states that you only have to notify the Community Advisory Board. You don't have to tell the residents. So there's 5 people on the board. That's 155 residents that have no idea that this is even being talked about.
How do you know that they weren't told by their board?
I spoke to someone today, one resident, I'm being honest. That's how I know. You know why? Because I would make it a point, if I was the mayor, to talk to those people and make them aware that it's happening.
Each person 155?
There's a resident that sits on the planning board that lives in that development, and a former councilman that lives in that development.
Doesn't live there anymore.
I know he doesn't live there anymore. I said former.
I said former councilman, yes.
I meant
Yes, I understand.
resident.
Okay.
I'm sorry. You don't have to correct me right at the point.
I'm just making it straight so everybody understands.
Well, I'm just letting you know that there's a lot of people who are not informed about that. And I believe, in my own opinion, that it wasn't shared with those 155 people. So, when a town is doing a master plan, and I got notice because I bordered their property, we got 155 people that live over there. State law says you only have to notice the community advisory board. I think the community deserves to do due diligence and tell those people.
And how would that be done?
Same way you noticed me. You sent me a public notice.
So send it to another 155 people?
If that's what you have to do.
That's not how we do things here.
Well, you know what? Maybe you're doing it wrong.
Maybe. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Please step up. Lisa.
Lisa Virgilio, 283 Ryerson Road. I don't know why I have my phone in my hand. I apologize. Just so you know, I want to tell you that capping, first of all, capping groundwater is pure insanity, especially when you have residents living on top of it. And there is contaminated groundwater on the DuPont site. That's a fact. It came from there. It's still probably there. None of us know. There's not been any independent testing done in other places that it should be done too, but that's another story, like the South End, where some of the stuff maybe is gone during the flooding and hurricanes. There was a case not that long ago in Texas, and the capping that they had was basically leaking. And what it did was destroy their water system, which you have well water here, and there's one not that far from the DuPont site. And basically another Flint, Michigan kind of a situation in a different way, but the water was like that. Mayor, you say you're not an expert, and nor am I, but I've learned a lot in the last 10, 12 years. But I want to tell you, when we speak, we spoke to top-level hydrologists We had environmental engineers that were kind enough to volunteer their time or to review reports and do summaries for us. So we are not speaking like uneducated people when it comes to the pollution. And I want to make that clear because you downplay our intelligence sometimes and our knowledge. And I don't think that's fair. I still am not convinced that there's really factual justification that's been done on the rezoning consideration of the DuPont tract. Without it, how can you arbitrarily rezone it? And the rezoning of the DuPont tract, again, I will say it, no matter what, I know you're saying DEP and EPA are the experts, and they are federal and state agencies. But they're only as good as the tool you give them, which is the zoning. So, again, I tell you, changing the zoning at this point is not a good idea by lowering it. If you want to change it to environmentally sensitive. That would make sense. Anything else is you're hurting your residents. And their future, and their children, and people like me that grew up here. That's not fair. It's not fair. We all supposedly love this town, right? If you love it, you take care of it.
Okay, so you said, I downplay your thoughts. You talked about the experts you brought in or you've spoken to or worked with. Have those experts ever reached out to the DEP or the EPA with their results?
You know, absolutely. They share them all the time.
And what was their response?
Their response to it was, depending on what the subject matter was.
Because I've never heard back from the DEP.
The $100 surcharge was axed, and Rich Chapin, our environmental engineer, was one of, and Rachel both reported on that.
Right, but that was axed because they couldn't come up with insurance. That's why it was axed. And I supported that because they couldn't come up with insurance.
I don't think that's the only reason.
Well, I think that's what I was told,
Well,
yeah.
that's a big reason. Thank God.
All right, so thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Please step up.
Elaine Zablocki, 6 Butler Street. Regarding the open public meetings law, before the meeting, I guess about 10 or 15 minutes before the meeting started, Mr. Giaconetta walked in the room from there, and right before the meeting started, most of the rest of you sitting up there were in that room and came back here. I just want to say that I hope you were talking about what you had for lunch.
We were not.
We were not.
So do you understand the open public meeting law? Or do you want me to explain it to you?
I think it requires an explanation.
She seems to say she understands it.
Mrs. Zablocki, you were on the Board of Education at one time, is that correct?
You know that.
Okay. Did you ever meet the committee? Of course you did. And that's what we had tonight, is a discussion in committee. Okay?
So when you bring up the open public meeting law, there is a reason why it is what it is, and I think you understand that from being on the Board of Ed. And to make the accusation that you just made, that I took as an accusation, was incorrect and not fair. You knew what you were saying when you said it. Anyone else? Please step up.
Cheryl Rubino. I'll give you my 524 Howard address for today.
Okay.
First off, excellent macaroons. Thank you so much. I tasted, I partook, they were excellent. And since you gave me a macaroon, I have been having and carrying your pen for
thank you
quite a
very
while. So, with that being said, the one thing I do want to bring up, the mayor and the council, I know you guys like to take the EPA and the DEP's word on a lot of things. I think you guys need to do some investigating of your own. DEP and EPA rely on Chemours to do their testing, and they come back with the results. So that is like, the Cookie Monster providing the cookie and the data back. Let's be honest. We're not getting accurate information. We really do need some independent testing, or DEP to do their own testing to get to the truth of whether the contamination has disseminated a little bit, especially within the plume. Okay, so that's kind of the first thing. I cannot take DEP for their face words or values. Helen brought it up. 2001, they knew vapor intrusion existed. My mother and I breathed that air until 2008, until we got that letter. That's a problem. That's a big problem. So you cannot take them for their word. You need to do some investigating of your own. Hire and get the right people in there, get the right data, not let Comores do the testing anymore, period. End of conversation. As far as the rezoning, you guys know where I stand on that. It can, it can be rezoned at a later date and time. It does not have to be done now. Right now, the focus should be on getting rid of the stigma, as we like to call it, right? You guys were a little upset that other residents mentioned that DuPont and Pompton Lakes was the main player for the AG to come here. Yes, it was all about DuPont and all the DuPont and 3M, if I believe, properties, or a couple of them. Yep, down, I think, yeah. So but Pompton Lakes has become the face of DuPont right now. You guys should be focused on doing what's right for the residents, cleaning it up. Hold DuPont to the fire, get it cleaned up. It's been 30 years. And I started this in 2009, so for me, it's a decade already. Put their feet to the fire, get it cleaned up already. Then the stigma goes away if it's cleaned up and it's cleaned up properly, right? So instead of allowing the polluter to tell us how they want to clean it up, I think our mayor and council holds a lot of weight, and you guys should be telling DuPont how to clean it up and what needs to be done, and what needs to be done correctly for the residents of this town.
Thank you.
Again, you've been doing this a long time. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. I know you don't trust the DEP, I know you don't trust the EPA, but that's how it works. That's the system. Any independent testing, they would not accept. They do their own testing. I get it. They get the testing from Comores by oversight from the DEP. Not just in this site, not just in this state, throughout the country, that's how it's done. You're asking us to do something that the rest of the country is not doing and wouldn't go anywhere with. So you know the process. The process is the way it's going. It has to be that way. It's the only way.
I think the residents were there when they tested.
That's not going to happen, and you know that. Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address?
They're not there.
Please, ladies, please. Anyone else from the public like to address? You guys wait to that last second, that very last second.
I like to get the very informative comments before speaking. Peter Shazad, 314 Woodlawn Avenue. I got two different topics. About ordinance 1913, capping needs to always be monitored going forward. If there's earthquakes, if there's anything of that nature going forward. And I think we had an earthquake within the last 2 years here. That does happen, and that can open up fissures in the capping. And again, it's just something that needs to constantly be monitored. I forget my second point. The other thing I want to talk about actually was I also went to had to speak to your kids about marijuana event on the 11th, and I was super thrilled with it. It was much more fair and balanced than I expected a talk of that topic to be. Sean was excellent. He basically, real quick on the takeaways that I got from it were, yes, people under the age, I think it was 23, I believe, with chronic use of marijuana can alter their brains. But he was very clear that... Was it till 25? Okay. But that was also with chronic use. This was not occasional use. He went out of his way to specify this. He was also very clear in saying that the old ways of the war on drugs and the DARE, this is your brain on drugs ads, were very ineffective and actually counterproductive. And I was appreciative of that fact as well. So I would actually recommend, if that program ever comes around again, I would highly recommend everybody go into it. So I thought that was a very adult way to bring the topic. And it did say this is really the way to talk about any addiction. It was a way to also distinguish between physical addiction and between mental addictions. And so anyway, it was well done.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So that's another good question for the EPA and the DEP, earthquakes. That's something I thought about, but you should bring it to them and see what they say about that. And, unfortunately, I know you were there and Councilman Begg was there, and I heard it was a very good talk. When I was down meeting with the AG, actually, I couldn't go. But, we should get the word out when those things happen. I'd like to see more residents there. I'd like to see more people there, especially people...
Marijuana?
Yeah, the marijuana, yeah. I'd like to see more residents there. I'd like to see people with children there, to get a little education on themselves. Like, you took the time out to go. I think every parent should take the time out. It's not a long meeting, it's an hour, and get some education. Because I do get a lot of calls from parents concerned about what we're doing in town to help their children with that. That's where they would have got answers on both sides. So let's publicize it next time it comes through.
Can I get 10 seconds?
No. Anyone else? Okay, you go.
I'm Gita Curtis. I live at 111 Ramapo Avenue. I would like to begin my statement by reading from the minutes of January 16th, 2018 Planning Board minutes. Mr. Silverstein points out that changing the zone gives Chemours and the DEP a base to clean to with the cleanup. Mr. Pendexter asks of any contact with Chemours. Mayor Sarah explains Chemours hired consultants regarding the track, and they came up with what was very, very similar to what we have. He states all are agreed, no residential, and reminds everyone that Chemours is not saying what's going there. The EPA and DEP are telling Chemours. Mayor Sarah reminds that there's been a discussion of moving the DPW there. My reason for reading the minutes is because they clearly demonstrate knowledge that changing the zoning impacts the standard of cleanup. And I want to clearly state, I'm sorry for shaking.
It's okay, take your time.
It's very nerve-wracking for me.
Me too. When I talk.
I want to clearly state, contrary to what Mr. Sarah states here, all are not in agreement. Chemours and the town government may be in agreement on this, but the residents are not. And while the NJDEP may be telling Chemours, the council is telling the NJDEP what standard they want the site to be cleaned up through the zoning. So you have so much power. And I implore the council not to pass that zoning change. Hold Chemours accountable and demand they clean the site to the highest standard technology will allow. And I will also say, and I understand that you want to move forward with the master plan, and rezoning that is a piece of that. I don't know if it has to do with moving the DPW there, and then you can put the parking garage on that site, or it's like a domino effect, one thing to the other. And I'm not sure if anything I said was true with that, but that's what I gleaned from reading the master plan revision. And I'm not a town planner, so I have no comment on that. My only concern is that that site is cleaned to the fullest extent possible. And by rezoning it, it's like, I don't know, it's like saying, here DuPont, it's like giving them a pass, in a sense. It's not an orphan site, we have the polluter, hold them accountable, that's it, And I feel like the need to clean that site to the highest standard, it supersedes all the master plans and all the great ideas everybody has. We need to clean that site. And then, only that way can we really protect the property values. Because then we will have done everything possible and cleaned it as much as possible. So in doing so, we could proudly say, we did everything we could, it's as good as it gets, and it's good. That's what I want it to be, good. So that's all, almost. I just want to say, all the people that have the seat at the table, I want you to consider the residents having the priority seats.
the biggest seat at whatever table you're sitting at. Like, don't forget us. That's all. Thank you.
So most of the information you did say there was somewhat correct in that the zoning will set a standard that the DEP and EPA will work off of. That's just one piece of a puzzle that they use to come up with the cleanup. That is not the guiding force. It's one piece of a puzzle. They will make the final decision on all the pieces put together with the DEP and EPA sitting down and discussing the cleanup. On the other hand, if the council decides to go complete residential, the odds that DuPont will fight that are very high, which then means what happens is the project stops for an extended period of time, could be years, in court. Please, I'm not going to ask you again, please, okay? It would stop, and then it would be a legal battle in court, and God knows what will happen at that point. Anything could happen at that point. But at the end of the day, moving our DPW doesn't really have to do with the master plan too much. We're not even sure we're going to do that. There's some other issues there. That's just a consideration we've made. We know that DPW in general is in a bad spot, and it has to be moved. The building's old. It's one of the many sites we've been looking at to move them, but at the end of the day, we do have them. That is not the guiding force of the master plan. I should also mention that, and it was brought up in the beginning of the meeting, this started on the master plan a year ago. Because of the changeover of the chairperson and some things, it took this long to get it through. This should have been approved or not approved a year ago. It just fell at this time when the lawsuit happened to come out at the same time. It wasn't planned that way, and it wasn't supposed to be done that way. It just unfortunately happened that way. And we always take the residents' concerns as the number one, more so than anybody else. You know, the residents, and not just these residents, all the residents have a right to say what goes on in this community. Anybody else? Mr. Hinton had his hand up. Go ahead. Did you have your hand up?
Yeah. Well, you just said it. Randy hit 443 Montclair Avenue. Well, you just said it, Mr. Mayor. It was a year ago that should have been done.
Yes.
So what is the urgency now where you're going to vote on it on May 8th? I mean, if it's been a year already, why can't you let it go a little longer? And so that we can meet with the commissioner. And these residents are speaking their hearts out here. And I don't live in the plume. Most of you don't live in the plume. None of you live in the plume. I grew up in the plume, and a lot of these people still live in the plume. They're speaking with their hearts. And so what's the urgency of May 8th? That you have to have a vote on?
There's not an urgency. The cleanup, like I said, that's one piece of the puzzle. They need that piece before they can come up with a cleanup schedule for the site. If we don't give them that piece, they will not come up with a cleanup schedule, and it'll just stall. It'll just sit.
But you still can wait. It's been a year, like you just said. You don't have to vote May 8th.
Well, we have to vote at some point, yes.
Well, but I mean, it could still wait.
Well, we can't put it again after May 8th. There's a certain time frame involved, but we'd have to start from the beginning again.
Oh, when you carry over.
Yes.
Well, start over again.
I don't think that's something we're interested in, but this council will make a decision next week, and it'll be a vote.
And to the councilman and woman, you know, this is all individual votes on your part. You know, you don't have to follow right along. You're all independent. You're all elected at different times. You know, you can listen to the residents individually and vote your heart just like they're speaking their heart. So that's on that issue. On the Montclair project, is that notification going to be sent to the residents as to parking and stuff on the street?
We haven't gotten that far yet. Right now, we're going to, the award of the bid was for all the drainage work to be done. And then, once that happens, Tilcon's going to come into the co-op, it's not going to be bid out to the Marsh County co-op, and then we'll know more about the traffic conditions.
Okay. And will a letter be sent to the residents? Informing them? Yeah. Also, you didn't mention, but I saw the soapbox derby. That was pretty interesting.
I did not make it there, so no. You could say something about it.
Yeah, well, it was an interesting time. And kids did well participating. You know.
Good. Glad to hear.
Also, we're just about finishing addling all the geese eggs.
Yes,
and we're about over 100 eggs that we've added. So that's a good thing for the town. Someone was telling me about cracks in the tennis court. Is something being addressed?
We're working on that right now. We have an engineer looking at it. Is that correct? Or somebody looking at it?
Yeah, the problem we have is that the tennis courts at Hirschfield Park itself is really basically level playing field with the river. And given the amount of rain we've had, groundwater being so high, we put all new drainage under the tennis courts, but still, we do have surface cracks because groundwater is just pushing up from the bottom. We're going to repair those, and then when the courts get ready to be repainted, we'll paint over the repair.
Okay. I just wanted to, I brought it up at the last council meeting. I like to give compliments and criticisms, and I have given compliments before. And I would like to compliment once again our OEM director, Al Evangelista, on the job that he's doing for the OEM. But while I was at, and the few people I talked to about this, while we were at our Easter celebration, an announcement came over, right? It came over for the, on the telephone, and emergency announcement, well, that's our emergency for OEM, but it wasn't an emergency. It was just an announcement that the fire hydrants were going to be cleaned on Monday. On a holiday, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when we're all celebrating the holiday, we need to bring that emergency across.
Cleaning hydrants.
That announcement couldn't have been done on a Saturday.
Cleaning hydrants,
So that's just
no holidays.
And that cleaning of hydrants is also on the town calendar.
It is.
So I don't think we really needed that to come across at 3 o'clock.
We can probably work on that a little bit, but it is an important announcement because a lot of residents do not look at the calendar and then call the next day because their water is brown and they're wondering if they're...
Well, it could have came on Saturday. It didn't have to come on
Probably something you can
Easter
address.
Sunday.
So,
Nobody's talking from the audience.
Nobody's talking from the audience.
So he's allowed to come up to the podium on his own.
You are correct.
To answer the compliment or the criticism.
You are correct. Anyone else from the public like to address? Seeing no one, have a motion to close the public session. So moved. Councilman Bennett and Councilman Giaconetti. All in favor? Against? Privilege of the floor, anybody have privilege of the floor?
Can I just say a real quick thing? No, real quick. I just a reminder, it's springtime, the kids are out on their bicycles, we've made such good progress with them wearing helmets, and we seem to have gone backwards, with the winter. So if you have a child in your life that's on their bicycle, please get their helmets on them. The police are going to be out, they're aware of it, and Liz has gotten some of those nice little coupons for the kids who do wear helmets so they get their ice cream, but please, have the kids wear the helmets.
Okay, thank you. Motion to adjourn? So moved. Motion? So, Councilman Giaconetti? Councilman Biggs? All in favor? Aye. Against? Thank you, everyone, for coming.